I do want to take a minute and say how sad I am to see that Lou Dobbs has passed away. Lou Dobbs, legendary business anchor, who I grew up watching on TV and then had the pleasure of working alongside for many years at Fox. I just want to say, Lou, you really, you set a very high bar. This is us back. I've thought about him a lot this week, actually, guys, because, it's the RNC. And Lou and I were there together. I remember I was anchoring all the coverage. Neil Cavuto had a very, very tough situation with his heart, actually, and had suffered because of that, and had some kind of, I think, a quadruple bypass or triple bypass surgery. And so they called me and they said, Neil can't do this. Would you anchor all the primetime coverage? And I said, sure. I had a loved one, a family member that had just struggled with something very similar to Neil. And so I was sort of acutely aware of this at the time. And I said, yes, I'll go in, I'll anchor this. And I said, but could we get Lou to, stay with me? And they said, well, you can ask him. And I said, Lou, would you just, you don't have to just stay with me. Like, just be there as a commentator, because your insight is so unique and so special. And I will tell you that he was sort of MAGA before there was ever MAGA. In fact, I don't know if many people know this story, but his wife told me Steve Bannon showed up at their house, at their farm out in Jersey, and tried to convince him to run for president. This was years before Donald Trump was tapped. And it's because he embodied, I think, so many of these values that are really important to Donald Trump and to the MAGA core audience. And Lou didn't want to do it. He just, he didn't want to travel. He didn't want to campaign. He didn't want to do that. But he believed so passionately in America and what America stood for. I mean, borders, that was his issue long before anybody was really talking about that. And he used to get criticized for it at the time. 60 Minutes did a special on him. His wife is from South America or Central America, and but she came here legally, and his mother-in-law lived with them. And look, I mean, he wasn't in any way against immigration. He was against illegal immigration. And so he got kind of a bad rap for things. Here we are with Karl Rove at the RNC. And you know what? Lou was great. I said, Lou, would you just stay for an hour? Do you know he stayed with me every night until the end of the program? We'd get off at 11 or 12. And he stayed right through the end. And we had such a good time. He used to ask me to fill in now and then on his show when he could. And it got harder when I moved out of the city. I was like, Lou, I love you, but it's a long hike for me. And it was back when I had my 2 p.m. show, and I'd do 2 to 3, and then he was on at 7. But then eventually I got put in that primetime spot, even though I live so far away. So I did that, and I was on after Lou every night. Lou was a great friend, but boy, he could be a tough customer because Lou was about Lou, right? So we didn't have a lot of crossover, which I always missed, because however they stacked that deck, you always had to go to a commercial break. So it would be Lou's show and then Trish's show, which was kind of a bummer because I used to want to always talk to him, but we didn't have that. There was a hard commercial break in between. And sometimes I think just to rattle me, he'd go, yeah, and by the way, you can come watch me over on Tucker. And I'm like, no. Anyway, he was a fantastic guy who believed in America, was at the forefront of economic journalism. Let's face it, right? I mean, business journalism really exists because he started it all. This was the guy at CNN who made it interesting before CNBC was even around. So I just wanted to give a shout out to him to know, to let you know how much he will be missed. And he was working right up until almost the day he died. In fact, he was just on TV a couple of weeks ago. He had his podcast. Amazing, right? Amazing, amazing commitment from an amazing man. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being here. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for all you do, for your commitment. I know how much Lou appreciated you. I so appreciate you too, guys. We got good things coming our way. I'll see you Monday.